Okay, maybe you can let me know at what point do we start so that we do not prolong it.
Okay, we're just waiting for Beatrice. She's joining and then she'll take it on.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're just giving it a minute. Let's see if she joins. If she doesn't, we might just have to proceed. But welcome everyone. Our host, Beatrice, she just said that she's having a challenge joining. But I think we might just have to proceed if she doesn't join in a minute. Okay, I think we'll just have to proceed. Confirm if you can hear me, Cliff. And the rest.
Yep, we can hear you.
Very good, very good. So welcome to, this is supposed to be our edition number 14. Usually I'm not the host, but I'll just be stepping in for her today as we talk about holistic learning. I think this is a topic that we've wanted to talk about for a while now. and I think we have the best person to talk about here. Cliff is a philanthropist, a founder of Homeless of Nairobi. We'll be talking about that. A school leader and a teacher, also a Metis fellow, and mainly here is it written Mr. Tall, Dark, and I think that was written by by our team as they were putting together the introduction. But karibu sana, Mr. Cliff. I think the first thing I would want to know perhaps is the story behind Odijo, how it came to be.
Ah, you want to know that?
That's where we can start there.
Okay, fine, good. Let me just show my face so that people can see who this guy is. So that's
Very
me.
good.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Clifford Watch. And yes, the name Odijo is an old Sheng word, because nowadays I think they use the word Modi. So I belong to that generation of the 70s.
Yeah.
Which basically means teacher. And that is what the street boys call me when I am dealing with them. That's my name. That's my name on the streets. In fact, some of them don't even know my name. They just know Odijo. And from there, we had the Odijo Foundation, which was founded about 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So in November of this year, we'll be celebrating our 8th anniversary of street boys rehabilitation, reintegration, empowerment, all those things that have to do with street boys. So that's where the Odijo comes from the streets.
Okay. I mean, that's really, they say that those days used to say Moti. Nowadays we say Ndai. So I think it tells a lot about the age. And speaking about the Odijo Foundation, first of all, congratulations for your 8 years. Kurasa is just about 2 years, and we are feeling the heat. And so congratulations. If you have the celebration, we're happy to come and be with you. So tell us, why do you care so much?
Nunua kitabu.
Sawa. I'm coming for that book, by the way. God willing, tomorrow afternoon, I could pass by.
No problem. Karibu sana.
Asante sana. So tell us about the Odijo Foundation. I mean, why do you care so much about street boys? What triggers you to that?
Okay, I don't think there's anything specific to the street boys. As you said, I'm a school leader. I'm a principal at an upmarket school. And honestly, there's no difference between my students who live in Runda and my street boys who live in the streets. There's no difference. The only difference is a shelter. The emotional needs are the same. The need to be loved, to be accepted, to be recognized, cuts across all human beings, irrespective of where you are. So for me, working on the streets, working at Regis Runda is just one continuous job, right? It's only that one is able to pay me and the other one is not able to pay me. I'm able to pay them. So I'm paid to pay. I'm paid to pay the other. Okay, but just to answer your question, right?
Yeah.
What bothered me are the number of people who cannot access education. That bothered me, So the guys on the streets, I didn't look at them as street boys and street girls. I looked at them as people who are unable to access education. When I talk about education, also both formal and informal. So I took an interest in them, to kind of get them off the streets and get them back any educational institution. So that's why. But there's no particular reason. To me, it's one long, continuous journey of educating. Yep.
Okay. I mean, I resonate with a bit of that. We've had some opportunities to listen to Street Boys, and as you say, they have the same aspirations that the other learners in from Runda, I mean, ideally have.
Yeah.
Only that I get your DJ in the street and Mr. Sa in Runda, I suppose.
That's a huge difference. The respect.
Basically, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Go on.
So basically, now as you were saying, I gather that the Homeless of Nairobi was founded, or rather the Odijo Foundation. I don't know if the two are the same. It was founded with the aim of helping street children access education.
Okay, let me rephrase that.
Yeah.
The whole point was just to give them some dignity in life.
Yeah.
That was the whole point. And the first dignifiable thing that we thought of was just feeding them. But from the feeding cropped a number of things. Yeah. So the education, the shelter, clothing, mentorship, all this, they kept on as an offshoot of the dignity that you're looking for. Initially, it was just like, can we just give these guys one meal a day so that they don't go a day without eating?
Okay.
That was the whole purpose. Kind of like the soup kitchens in the Western world.
Yeah.
However, like these things, they come with other baggages. Huh?
Yeah. So, absolutely.
Yeah. So you start feeding someone, and then he tells you, "I want to go back to school." Yeah. And you say, "Why? Why not? We can help you get school." Or I want to go to training, and kind of so. That's how eventually we ended up.
Oh, okay. So let me ask, how many learners, how many street kids have you already worked with? And also now you can now start getting into holistic education. We'll talk about that later. How many have you so far enrolled or worked with?
Currently, right now we have a children's home, by the way.
Okay.
So let me just give the statistics. On a daily basis, we feed 150 homeless people every day. Okay. Then from the 150, it's okay. It varies between 120 and 180. So I've just given 150 as an average. But from that 150, we pick the ones who can be institutionalized and go back to school. So currently we have 30 who are in schools, current one in schools through our children's home. And then we have another 10 who did not go to school, but were of age to work. So they're not been on the streets for too long, so they were able to go. In total, we have about 300 people under our umbrella, our care.
Okay.
Yeah, so collectively, the streets, the ones who have left the streets, and let me say 500. Now, some in the slums who live in the slums with their parent or guardian, but need some empowerment or some school fees here and there. So it's quite a huge umbrella.
Okay. I mean, congratulations. I must say that's bigger than the average school we work with at Kurasa. So tell us, I remember there's a time I've visited Regis, and it reads local curriculum, international approach. And I remember you talking about the humanness of the education. I think that's why I would like us to start talking about holistic education. What to you is a holistic education?
Okay, for me, I can summarize it in just one word or just one phrase. Holistic education is teaching human beings. In very many aspects, we focus on the curriculum, we focus on structures, we focus on things, we focus on books, on resources, and we forget that we are actually teaching the human being. Right? So when you teach the human being, then what comes up is both the emotional component of the human being. Sorry, not both. The emotional, the intelligence, and also the spiritual and the social. All these things, they come together. They come into foreplay. I'll give you several. Couple of examples. During one of the interviews, you're talking to one of our experienced teachers, which we featured her in our bulletin. And the question we asked her is that what was the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to you as a teacher? And the answer shocked us, and she said that the most embarrassing thing and shameful was that when she punished a Form 3 student for not doing holiday homework. It was a boarding school.
Yeah.
So and it's like, no, don't even, how teachers are. Hata usiongee, hata usianze, we go chukua jembe and start. Anyway, so the student was punished. And then later on, she realized that this student lived with her single mother and siblings. And the mother had passed away. The mother had passed away during the holidays, so they were involved in the burial. And then in the process, I think they were kicked out of their house or whatever. So basically, this kid, the whole holidays, had no time to do homework, Now, this teacher, also being a mother, would not just imagine that her daughter, 17-year-old daughter, is the one now who's taking care of young ones. So in the process, the teacher was actually more interested in her homework not being done.
Yeah.
Right. You're focusing on the person. You're focusing on the, So that, to me, is always the first thing, is that you're teaching human beings. And that's why, just to jump a little bit, the whole debate of 844, CBC and everything, as long as you're going to be mistreating students, then the curriculum does not matter. The first aspect of it is to treat them as human beings, right? The second aspect is what Howard calls the multiple intelligences. Basically there are 9 multiple intelligences, and some people have quite a number of those intelligences. Some have only one, right? But each of us has a multiple intelligence. And just running through them, of course, there are things that we know because it's things that we see. There are what we call the verbal linguistic, those guys who can talk and talk and talk, like the politicians. Yes. Those guys can talk the whole day, but also with verbal linguistic, there are guys who are talented in writing, people who have published works, poets, all those performers. Yeah. They're good at what. When you hear them, you know them.
Yeah.
So some of these guys they'll do badly in other areas, but this is their area. On the flip side, the people who struggle with verbal linguistics will be what we term as dyslexic, because that's an area that they struggle with, right? And then, of course, there are the guys who are mathematical. The guys who are pure actuarial scientists and engineers and everything, and the mathematicians. But you tell him to give a speech, the guy is not going to give a speech. Take someone like Magoha. Tell him. Right? To him, he falls under different. So guys are mathematical, very good at maths and numbers and this, and you know them. The teachers also know them. Then we have the musicians, the guys who are geniuses at composing, at whatever, singing. You hear their voice and you go, wow, kind of thing, right? So that becomes their intellect. Right? And then the artists, the guys who are visual, the guys who can draw you from nowhere. And you give them any space and they're going to create something out of it, and we know them. These guys are there. Yeah. Then we have the guys whose the dancers, the guys who can move their bodies, bodily kinesthetics. We also have in this category, athletes, sportsmen, basketball, kind of guys who can move. You can move your body to kind of, right. But further than that, all this has been things that people can do. But also, there's interpersonal. People who are very, very good with person to person. I mean, these are typically your PR, and sometimes even just your network, sometimes even the politicians, kind of, they're very good.
Charismatic.
Exactly. Some of the leaders, psychologists, evangelists are very good at this, kind of, right? And then we have the intrapersonal, the people who are in touch with themselves and they can understand themselves very well. So counselors, social workers, sometimes even religious, enjoy games, kind of. And then you have people with nature, people who are in touch with nature and love nature, love pets, love greens. They prefer dealing with pets rather than dealing with human beings. And then you have guys who have got that existential intelligence about things that are religious or cosmetic or what we call metaphysical. That's the word that I was looking for.
Okay.
So these are 9 intelligences, right? The first thing, which is very, very shocking, is that not most teachers are aware of this.
Okay.
That's number 1. Number 2, not being aware of it. If I am a teacher of English and I'm going to, and this guy can just not get it. So for me, I'll also be pushing this guy to do well or perform well in English without guy is just not that's not his intelligence. Okay. But guys who are good at sports. But they're very, and what do the teachers tell them? At wewe kazi yako tu ni one of my boys, the children's home, is a very good musician, rapper and everything. And actually, they bring him, zako tu ni kuimba na unapata madi hapa na kila kitu. Muziki hakuna kitu takusaidia. Those kind of things, right? But that's his intelligence. And so if teachers don't recognize this, that to me is first the foundation of holistic learning, is what intelligence is your students. And even you as a teacher, what intelligence are you? Now, the people will have multiple intelligences, so they're able to transverse across. I'll give you an example. I'm one of those ones. I am a trained maths physics teacher, so I get on with very, very well with sciences, but my passion has always been reading and writing, and I've ended up publishing storybooks, kid storybooks, and now my memoirs, without studying literature at all.
I've seen that.
Very good with words, kind of, and I'm very good with numbers. So you find that it cuts across. I'm very good with people as well. So my interpersonal is also quite. So you find that people will have several intelligences. Right? But back to the holistic aspect of education or holistic approach is does the teacher recognize this, right, in the students? The students recognize in themselves. And allow me to give just 2 examples.
Correct. Go ahead.
Of my students. Number 1 was a student I taught at Strathmore School many years back. And this guy, from standard 1 to form 4, he was basically top of the class. Right? 12 years. So he accumulated all these accolades and everything. And then he left, went and did his A-levels, went to the UK, studied medicine, qualified as a surgeon, practiced for, I think, about 10 years. And then one day he came back to Kenya. And then when he came back to Kenya, of course, we had a reunion with the class. And then he called me and told me, there's something I would like to do. I told him, okay, what? I would like to give back. I would like not to give back. I would like to return 2 of the trophies that I got. Why? I feel that the 2 guys who deserved it better than I do, I would like to give it to them. I asked him, what do you mean? He said, listen, I was academic. These guys were all-rounders, plus academics. They were better. They were better. So 25 years later, he returned his trophy, call it a pennant. He returned his pennant, and we had a ceremony. And he said, I would like to give this pennant to this guy and to this one, because they were better than me. Now, that shoots holes into the system, because here you are as teachers thinking that you are awarding the best students, and actually what you're awarding is academic students. Of course, there was sport. So that's number one. Number 2 was when I joined Oshwell Academy, and there was this girl who was consistent from the beginning of the term to the end. Consistent in attendance, in doing homework, in handing assignments, consistent, right?
Yeah.
Then come exam time, there was this boy, very random, who would not do his homework, he would not have anything. But during exam time, cram the hell
I see where this is going. Yeah.
Get 100. So at the end of the year, this boy was the best. I went and told my boss, something is wrong, right? Something wrong. We are actually awarding exam marks. We're not even awarding, any ethics. We're not awarding, So she told me, come up with something then. And I did. I sat and said, okay, can we apportion academics 60% and non-academics 40%? Then you broke down the 40%, which included attendance to school, which included parental involvement. Forget about CBC, we're talking about parental involvement. We already were at that point, if your parents do not attend the meetings, if your parents do not sign your diary, right? We dock away some marks. Extracurricular, it included that. It included sports. If you represented your class in something, you got some marks. If you represented the school in something, you got some marks. If you represented the country in national whatever or international, you got some marks. So eventually, we had this comprehensive system of awarding students that came. And after that, we were able to award this. So to me, that brought in the issue of holistic education. And not academics, just awarding academics. Much later, all these were put in as a document. And nowadays, you can see it is actually part of the school and part of the system. So moving on, I've been asked to also mention anything about CBC, holistic learning, and project-based learning. Before going on, I would just like to mention 2 things about CBC, or 2 examples, not two things. There's this area called Apollo Center, and I think the Gravity Center, which have taken learning to another level, whereby learning is just not classroom, it's not about sitting exams, but it's experiential, you go out, you experience, and also you're challenged. And very soon, this will be almost the norm in all the counties, like a museum whereby students go to learn. And because of that, it has given it a different perspective, because initially it was just about exams, but now the kids, the people are going out. Moving on, drama, music, sports, those are areas of talent that are slowly starting to get recognition. Before, of course, the joke was the maths teachers would take all the subjects of PE or of music, kind of, because those aren't important. Not anymore. Nowadays, these are equally important, and they actually, should I say what, contribute a lot more. If you look at, music festival, it has been there for years. Quite a number of schools have taken it further. Instead of just having the national music festival, they'll have their inter-house, right? They'll have debates. They'll create a school culture where all these things take part. And later on, if you ask people what they remember about the school, these are the things they'll tell you about: the outings, they'll tell you about the debates, they'll tell you about the sports, right? They'll tell you about all these things that keeps on coming up. So in a way, the inquiry-based, project-based learning that is part of CBC is something that talks holistic approach towards education. When you are doing project-based learning, right, you look at all the senses. You'll be using your eyes, you'll be using your ears, you'll be using it's a multi-sensory approach and multidisciplinary. When Reggie School was doing the NEC grade 3 assessment, we took it further, much, much further. It was about patriotism, but patriotism, then what? So the two things that was, I think 3 or 4 things that we did that were completely out of the NEC expectation. And let me just look for them here, grade 3. One of them was renaming all the streets and alleys in Regis. So we have Mwai Kibaki Street, we have Daniel Moi Street, we have Eliud Kipchoge Street, we have Paul Tergat, we have David Oliet Street, Dennis Oliet Street. Yeah. All these places in the school that are named after the Kenyan patriots. Right? So that's number one thing that we did. So the students will ask, oh, okay, who is this Bildad Kagia? They'll go and find out who's Bildad Kagia. But more than that, what about you as a person? Are you a patriot? So we created a patriotic corner, which we called a wall, where the students were allowed to come and write their names. Kind of graffiti. I wish I could project it, if I can project. Kind of graffiti. And guys came and painted and wrote on the walls and this and, beautiful, beautiful messages. But we took it beyond that. And more than just saying it's about patriotism, what about making it multi-sensory, so that it's just not about, what NEC has asked for. Then one of the things we did, we're supposed to do a charity project, also under the patriotic. And a whole week, we adopted one of the schools in Githogoro slums. But more than just adopting them, we took up the feeding for that particular 1 week. The students were under the instructions, whatever they bring to school, they have to work for it. And they're not supposed to bring anything that is not going to worth more than 300 shillings. But they have to work. So the parents are told, make sure the students work for this. They just don't go to the pantry, pick something and move out with it, okay? So then more than that also, we took it further and we read stories, novel studies on Jomo Kenyatta, Dedan Kimathi, Wangari Maathai. We read all those stories. Kipchoge Keino, global icons as Mandela. We learned about they're supposed to learn patriotic songs. But we went further. They learned about patriotic songs from other communities or other countries, the South African struggles, you know. So what's my point? My point is, when you talk about holistic approach, you know, kind of, there's a lot more that you can talk about. We talked about the Olympics, the Commonwealth Games, all those Kenyans who have made Kenyans proud. And finally, we had a celebration of the whole thing. So CBC has taken that approach, but NEC gives you guidelines. What you do with these guidelines is really up to you. You can actually explore and ensure that it goes to beyond anything else. And then on the last day, we had the exhibition and the parents came. So I think that, to me, approach is the one of holistic learning. But more than just looking at the Kenyan local curriculum, let me also talk about some of my street boys, two of them. There's one called Martin who dropped out of school and has dropped out of like 5 different schools. Each time you take him, he just can't stay. So one day he told me something very philosophical. This is from a 16-year-old boy, you know. He told me, Odijo, mimi nitasoma, lakini sitaenda shule. And I'm like, okay, that's a very deep philosophical statement, you know, kind of, right? Nitasoma, lakini sitaenda shule. So this prompted us to start something that we call Shule Mtaani for some of the street boys. And in Shule Mtaani basically was a space where they could come and learn anytime they wanted. Okay, of course, we had teachers who would come at a specific time. So they would come and they would have English lessons. They'd have English lessons, and they'd come, they'd have maths, they would have Kiswahili and whatever, they would taekwondo, all those things, they would have them. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoy them, right? Now, allow me, my battery is running low. Let me switch off the video. I hope it's not going to go off.
Sure.
Yeah. Maybe we can, let me see. Can allow me to take a pause and maybe you just ask guys to ask questions as I try to log in using another device.
Okay. Hi everyone. Sorry, better late than never. Mitambo leo ilikuwa imenicheka, lakini nimefanikiwa. Good to see you all. Thank you so much, William, for taking over, and Clifford for that very insightful session. So before he comes back, we could do some fun questions. Yeah. I had prepared something, just a few questions. Maybe you can write. Mr. Clifford gets back.
No, I am there. It's just that just go on. I'm trying to log in. I'm trying to log in using another device. Just go on.
Yeah.
Go on. Yeah, go on.
So,
go on.
Okay. Tower. So it wouldn't be a Kurasa podcast without a Kurasa questionnaire, you know. So first question, which Kenyan tribe is famous for dancing in stilts performed by men wearing long black coats and white masks? Which Kenyan tribe is famous for dancing on stilts performed by men wearing long black coats and white masks? Any idea? I'll give you a hint. It's in the central area. Pardon? Which Kenyan tribe is famous for dancing on stilts performed by men wearing long black coats and white masks? You can already picture it, so you just need the name. And I've given you a hint. They're from Central. Ruth, Sarah, anyone? Ama hiyo ni ngumu sana. Which Kenyan tribe? Just how many tribes are in Central? They're like, are they 3 or 4? It's one of 4. 3. Take a wild guess.
I'm just
Sarah,
guessing. It's
Ari.
Meru.
Yes.
Meru or
Close.
Embu.
Close.
I'm guessing Embu.
Embu. Yeah. Yay. It's Embu.
I was guessing.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can hey, come you just pulling out this from a hat na unapata. Pongezi. Aya, when were the Portuguese so when were they expelled from Kenya? It's somewhere in the 18th century. Sarah. Just guess.
I did not do history, so I have no clue.
It's somewhere in the 18th century. I don't know if it's 18th or 16th. Hapo katikati. When? Okay, mtafakari hiyo. And then I'll give you one more. Which language has more native speakers, English or Spanish? Which language has more native speakers, English or Spanish? This one sounds, yeah.
Yeah. English, wengine sisi ni wakudadia.
Yeah, it's Spanish. And then is there a chemistry teacher here as a BA exam? How many elements are there in the periodic table? Sarah, unmute. Unmute, tunataka kusikia.
I'm guessing at 21.
Ask about the Premier League.
There are more. No, not the Premier League.
What?
The Premier League.
24. 20 something.
No, there are many. There are much more.
The ones we learn in school or
the whole periodic table, the whole of it. Ikiwa imechorwa vile inachorangwa hivyo. How many years? Yes, Ruthie. May I unmute? How many? There are 118. Okay. 118. I don't know. Clifford, are you ready? We proceed?
Yeah. Good.
Almost. So I think, oh, you said 118, we couldn't hear you. Good job, you got it. Let's see one more. Which country is in the same time zone as Kenya?
during all the time?
Yeah,
Finland is in the same time zone during winter.
during winter.
During
Okay.
summer, sorry, during summer.
Uh-huh.
But I
Another
don't know
one.
about all the time. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
all
I
the
only
time.
know
There's a
Finland.
country it's a country, and it was recently, by the way, this is a hint. It was recently trending on Twitter because of how badly they treat Africans.
Qatar. Sorry, not
Ruth, we
Qatar.
can't hear you. Just type. No, oh, not Qatar. Uh-huh.
Um,
God. Britain.
No, not Britain. Qatar was closer.
Saudi Arabia.
yes,
Saudi.
Saudi.
Yes, Saudi. Hey. Yeah, it's Saudi Arabia. One more. I think Cliff dropped a call. Let's see. Let's wait for him to join. The name Nairobi means what in the Maasai language?
Something like river flowing.
Yeah, it's close. Something about water. Mm-hmm.
Swampy. Swampy.
Something?
Swampy what? I don't know.
You have the idea. It's here. It's no tips, but it's a word that's zinakataa kuja pamoja.
Nipatiwe hiyo juu ya swali.
Cold
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, Ruth is closer. It's place of cool waters. Yeah. So who's Techno come on 12?
Okay. Oh, sorry. That's Clifford now. That's
Oh, Karibu.
yeah. I had to change it.
Oh,
Yeah, the other one,
okay.
the battery was dying.
Sawa. So I'm back to holistic learning. There's something you mentioned about learners just using their motor sensory and just using the environment to learn. And I remember the day before yesterday, we went to visit Marian School with Kurasa team, and basically the special needs aspect of it is very important, especially when we're talking about holistic education. It resonates with them on a more deeper level because, first of all, learners with special needs don't learn the conventional way. So as educators, you have to be very creative about how to help them understand the message you're trying to share with them, especially even when you'll find a learner, for example, you find a learner who is very vocal. They can maybe memorize lyrics to a song, and they're very pictorial. They can know like this picture is about this. But when it comes to writing or even trying to remember what you just taught them, it becomes another issue. So I feel like as educators, we should also just embrace that approach, even though it's not really a method of teaching maybe in our institutions, but as teachers, we should be able to jump onto a situation and know this learner learns best through this, or this is how I can make my learners more engaging. This is how maybe this learner is more visual. This one is more hands-on. This one is better at math. Just to be able to make sure we are supporting them, not just with the knowledge that we are expending, but in also developing their skills. So it's very interesting what you're doing at your school, and I like how you kept saying we went a step further. It's very encouraging, and I think all of us should also not just do what you're expected to do. Ask yourself, how can I make this better for my learner? How can I? Because at the end of the day, we are teaching them skills, not just knowledge. We are teaching them skills so that they can be independent and just be supported holistically. Like if academics fail, are they able to still make a living? Are they able to still use their talents? Are they able still to nurture their gifts? So that's my 2 cents on that. I don't know, did you have anything else to add?
No, I don't have. Maybe the guys can ask questions, because for me, I think I can talk the whole day about this. And
Yeah.
the whole difference between the previous system, the 844, current one, is that what I see is that when you get the NEC assessment, the 844 way of interpreting it is that everything that is there has to be done the way it is written, kind of. So that latitude, going, thinking outside the ordinary is just not there. That's number one. Number two, last week a week ago, we celebrated World Teachers Day. And for us, it was basically the opposite, kind of, right? Teachers dressed as students, dressed as teachers. But there were a lot of lessons, kind of, to get from it. Some of the students who have never came out to teach, kind of. Some of the teachers who we thought were quite unpopular, the students loved them and dressed like them. And they went to the extent, kind of, they actually, that day was a day to be dressed like a teacher, feel like a teacher, be like a teacher, act like a teacher, kind of. And for the teachers to be students, and also to be at the mercy of the students, kind of. So it was just basically a fun kind of thing. But we also took it a little bit further. And now we told the students that next time you will have to get the teacher's bio, kind of write, have some bio data, and maybe present, should I say, a certificate to this teacher for being, take it up, make the school. And I think the thing that we normally forget is the emotional side of education. Because on that particular day, the students who normally think school is boring, school is hard, teachers are harsh. But just on that one day, you've salvaged them, and they say, okay, this is not as bad as I thought it was. But it has nothing to do with grades, it has nothing to do with marks, it has nothing to do with expectations, it has nothing to do with competencies. Everything to do with what I was saying at the beginning. We are dealing with human beings. These are human beings that we're dealing with. So I think that to me, you will just kind of summarize it. I'll just leave the floor open in case anyone has a question or anyone feels like commenting. Then I'm good.
Yeah, please open your mics, ask away. I had seen a question. There's one question from, wait, where did it go? There was a question here. There was a question. But basically, it's true that we are dealing with human beings, and especially babies. So we need to be more gentle and more kind, and allow them to explore their cognitive curiosities. Just because you've used, pardon?
Maybe I would ask, how do you suggest, as a school leader, how do you measure holistic education? If you are the one sitting at the principal's desk, how do you ensure that your teachers are doing the right thing? How do you measure that?
Please unmute.
Are you talking about the SMART goals? Could it be specific, measurable, attainable, all those things? Well, for us,
so basically you have 100 teachers. How do you actually, ensure what they're doing is holistic? Okay,
like one of the things we had on the people who attended our open day on Saturday is all our lessons have got kind of format, right? And we tell them that they have to go by the formats. So we share the format with them. It starts with what do you call it? Lesson starters or games, kind of. mind benders, and it ends with that. There'll be an aspect of corporate collaborative learning or group work, right? And there'll also be an aspect of communication with students, So we have a format that we've shared with them. That's number one. Number two, we have an appraisal system that goes on, and we have self-appraisal, peer appraisal, and admin appraisal. So we have this conversation every day with the teachers. Number three, every Monday from 4 to 5, we have continuous professional development, internally and externally, every Monday. So we have a schedule for the term, and we go through it, and we invite people teach each other. So it always continues. We're always talking about this. So this, if you talk to your typical Regis teacher, all these things will keep on coming up. You'll hear all these lesson starters, you'll hear collaborative learning, you'll hear about the 21st century skills, nothing to do with, should I say, CBC specific, but more to do with globalization of the education approach. So for us, that is key. Also, you will hear a lot about human values, respect. You'll hear a lot about trust, integrity, it's one of the schools that I've worked with where bullying is almost minimal, and not because of the way the kids have been brought up, but of the way the teachers treat the kids. Because sometimes if the teachers are bullied, the students will end up being bullies, but if the teachers are not, then it's very easy to ask a student where you're getting those traits from. So it's a culture. It's basically, we've just created a culture, around it.
Nice.
Anything else?
I had asked a question about the age bracket of the children that you decided to help out.
Oh, okay, fine. Sorry, thanks for that. I saw it, but I didn't know it was specifically to the street boys. We don't have an age limit. What we do is that we've got partnership with very many other organizations. So if the children are not school going, are below the age of, let's say, 3 or 5, then we send them to other organizations. If they are, let's say, so school going from, let's say, kindergarten all the way to, Form 4, or even college levels, those ones we will take, right? But again, we've had cases of people who have been out of school for 5, 7, 10 years. So when they go back, they go to lower classes. So you'll have a 10-year-old in standard 1, a 15-year-old in class 3, So sometimes it's not about the age, it's about the willingness of the person to go back. Yep. Next question.
I have one.
Okay, Ruth, proceed.
Yes. Okay, for me, I wanted to ask Mr. Clifford, are there any challenges that you as Odijo Foundation face? For example, if, let's say, for example, the learners or the street children that you take to school and they're about to complete their studies, do they, or is there one of them snaps back to their previous behavior, or they go back to the streets? And what do you do in case of that? Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. I have a theory that the success rates of rescuing and rehabilitating street boys or street families is 20%. Highest is 30%. 30% success, 70%. I don't want to use the word failure, but I have to use it, failure rate. So of every 10 that we'll rescue, 7 will go back to the streets. Of every 10 that we take to rehab, 7 will relapse. For every 10 that we reintegrate with the families, 7 will go back to the streets, right? So it's a known. Two things. One, we focus on the success rate, the 3 who don't go back to the streets, and that become our success story. 2, we try and look for alternative ways of engaging the ones who have gone back to the streets. So their weakness in the systems of post-rehab programs, these are a huge problem. They're not enough, what do you call it? Half houses. So if someone comes out of rehab or someone comes out of prison, they just cannot integrate back to society. Now that transition is a problem in the sense of we have not invested enough in those ones. There are enough children's home, right? There are enough rehabilitation centers, but we don't have halfway houses. Right? So people have been trying to get into that, to build halfway houses. And now that the government has also declared that in the next 10 years, they'll be phasing out children's homes. So it's time for us to invest more in the halfway houses. So what do we do with the 7 who go back? We just engage them at their level. And we accept the fact that we cannot change everyone and we cannot win over everyone. And we celebrate the 3 out of 10 who have not gone back. Yeah, it's a huge challenge, but now we've gotten used to it.
Wow. Ruth, I hope the question was answered.
Could you please clarify for these ones who go back to the streets, have you found out the reason as to why the gaps that are there, especially for those you reunite with the families? What is the main cause for them going back? And is it something that the society can chip into, or is it something that you as the organization need to do?
Yeah, if you listened keenly, I said the halfway house, the transition. And also this does not only affect the street boys. When someone comes out of prison and has been there for 10 years, and you just release them to go back to the society, the chances of them stealing and going back to the prison are very high. Why? Because you don't manage the transition, right? So the people who we get off the streets and take them to school, some of them are not ready for school. So we have not managed the transition well. The people who we take to rehab, and after 3 months, they came out of rehab, we do not manage the transition from rehab to the society well. And why don't we manage it well? Because we don't have halfway houses, right? You need a halfway house. Ukitoka rehab, right? You don't go straight. When you come out of prison, you don't go straight to the society. Now, a halfway house means that you live in the house, you can go out and come back. It's not a prison. We don't have enough of that. That's what I said. Those ones are not there. Okay? And even the ones who are taken back to their families, to be reintegrated to the families, right? They need a halfway house. I need to go to my family 1 day, 2 days, come back to the halfway house. Go to my family 3 days, come back to the house. After about a month or 2 months, now I can go back. Currently, the system is like, you come out of rehab, you're taken to your family. You've not even bonded with them. You don't even know them. You've been used to the streets. You've been used to that kind of life. So our management of the transition system is very, very poor and very weak. And that's what we need. The society needs to put as much money on rehab centers. They need to put as much money on transition houses or halfway houses or safe houses.
Yeah. Sarah, all clear now?
Yeah, that's clear.
So one last one. Do you have any upcoming projects, maybe another book that we should be on the lookout for, or maybe just a project with the homeless for Nairobi or?
Okay, there are many projects coming, very many. In April of this year, our library burnt down in Deep Sea, and we lost 5,000 books. So that's a project. Project Rebuild the Library is ongoing. Project Library and Computer Lab is ongoing. in the slums of Deep Sea so that it can take care of the children in the slums and some of the street boys. So that's in the next couple of months, we should be launching our library and our computer lab. That's number one. Number two, we have school holidays coming back in about a month. So we start our children's holiday camp for some of the street boys and some of the kids who live in the slums. So that is upcoming. Books, yes, Oxford University Press launched 15 readers where I'm one of the co-authors. So from next term in January or February, we'll start a tour of schools to start talking about novel study and project-based learning using readers. So it's an upcoming thing. We'll advertise it and we will invite teachers. Here we want to push for every teacher that private school sponsors, we should sponsor one from the public school so that we don't become elitist, because that's what we are ending up. When you charge them 1,000 bob, public schools cannot afford that. So they keep on lagging behind. So it's something that we move. So all those are projects that are moving on. And of course, I'm working on book 2 of the memoirs. Yeah, so that will be coming out. That will be specific to the philanthropic work only.
Okay.
Homeless of Nairobi.
Nice. So you mentioned Deep Sea. We're in Deep Sea. Me and Khadija, she's also a Metis cohort 6, as I am. We're running a literacy program as well in Deep Sea.
Yeah.
At Emmy Center, Emmy Children's Center.
Yeah, Emmy. Yeah. So we're not far from Emmy's.
You're not far from Emmy's?
Yeah, she can show you where the DJ Center is.
Okay. We might visit this Saturday.
No problem. Karibuni sana.
Asante. So, guys, it's been a very insightful session. I've seen we've surpassed our time by 12 minutes, but it's been a very, very engaging conversation. Thank you so much, Mr. Clifford, for engaging us, for sharing with us the impact you're making in schools, and also how to, even for individuals to be able to use the holistic approach even at home as parents, as educators, as just people who engage with human beings on an educational level. Let's just not focus on the academics, but also the holistic approach. Thank you so much, Sarah, Ruth, Nelias, and I'll just mention all of you, Lynette. And yeah, I think I've mentioned all. The others have left. Thank you so much for joining us today. And yeah, Mr. Clifford, it's been a pleasure. Asante sana, and we hope to hear from you and see you soon on our podcast. We always have it on Wednesday, so when you can join in, have a listen in, and see what we're talking about on What's All About Wednesdays.
Sure. Thank you very much for having me. I'm looking forward to more. Okay,
yes,
have
definitely.
a good evening.
Have a good evening, guys. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.